Howdy folks, and welcome back for another fun episode here on the Dillon, loading up some 9mm. Today we are working with these excellent projectiles here sent in from Eggleston Bullets. A nice little sample pack to test out for you guys. We are running the 124 grain round nose configuration here. They are sized to 356. And I weighed a handful of them. They came out with the low of 123 grains, 0.3, and a high of 124.5, so that's less than 1% of variance there in your weight, so that's very consistent. They all mic'd at 356 exactly, so that's perfect. Today we're going to be running the small pistol primers from Fiocchi, the Awkward 150 packs. These I've never had an issue with. They're almost the cheapest ones on the market you can find, and they've all gone bang through multiple bricks that I've shot already. So they load up very smoothly. Very nice primers there. And they've got this brass cup with the red compound. We've got our mixed range brass, because that's how we roll. It's already been sized and swaged and then tumbled and polished in the corncob media. You'll see some of them already have some corncob stuck in there, but that's no problem because we still have our sizing die set up, and all that's going to do is make sure there's nothing obstructing our flash hole, as well as iron out any cases that might have been dinged or whatever during the tumbling process. Or if I missed a case and something that didn't get sized is thrown in here, we'll still be able to get it sized and back into spec. And I don't know who thought it was a good idea to start crimping 9mm, but it's a little unnecessary. I'm not running a full auto MP5 or anything, but come on, it's frickin' pistol brass, brother. Anyways, we're here on the 550. We've got Winchester 244 powder, mixed range brass, and we are rocking and rolling here. I was running a little bit earlier and just tried seating a few, getting started there, and this is what the RCBS seating die was doing to us. And I switched seating stems. I tried 3 of them actually, because the Lyman ones fit into RCBS dies and vice versa, but 3 seating stems in my RCBS die did that to the bullets. And now that I'm on to the Lee, let me show you this one. We got it dialed back in, and these are the Lee projectiles, or rather the projectiles being seated from the Lee die. So looking much better fit. I know you can get some compound and custom fit all your seating stems to all your bullets and whatever, but these are just samples. We're just going to be testing them out, see how they do. And, that's no fault of the bullet. That's just the shape of it interacting with the shape of my specific seating stems that I have on hand. And actually, here's the RCBS one. I thought it would be a good fit because you can see how it's got that round nose. But this lip here, it's almost a straight right angle. It's just sharp, and it's obviously digging into all of my bullets. So we switched out for the crappy Lee die. And we are running it raised up, so we're not taper crimping on this step. We're coming around to the factory crimp die. That's actually loose, holy shit. Need to tighten that guy. Anyways, make sure he got powder here since I've been talking a lot. Safety first, fellers. Okay, let's make sure he's locked in there. I might have wiggled it when I was setting up the lead die there. And while we're here, we'll just make sure these are snug. How embarrassing. Don't even know how to get my press tuned up. No, just kids, because this thing's been running so smooth lately. Yeah, this is beautiful. Beautiful. And we're just going to be running that out of the Glock 17 Gen 5 and my PSA dagger. And if it plunks in one, it'll plunk in the other, because those are, for whatever reason, just about the most forgiving barrels I've ever used. Aside from my Ruger P95, that sucker, that can eat some weird shaped stuff. Or it's just very forgiving, let me say that. It runs smooth, it's just, old and clunky and basically 90s technology. But like I said, we're running smooth as heck here on the Dillon. Stage 1, once again, like I said, we have the sizing die, but that's just to iron out anything that might have been boogered up during tumbling or handling or any of that. Like, say, this guy here. This one still has a little booger in it. We're going to size it, and then when we go to expand it, that'll come right out. I don't have any worries about that. So here, let's give it a shot. So it's been sized, primed it, add another case, get our bullet set so we can still see that little ding there, and watch it get just perfectly ironed out. And there's no camera work there, guys. That's just, you know, a little excessive on the expansion maybe. Wow, that's pretty good there. But sometimes I run 358 projectiles, so I leave it set for that. And, okay, let's do the process properly. We need to rotate first. Now we can seat our bullet. Make sure we got this locator button stuck in there still. Okay. Beautiful. Anyways, a little extra expansion never really hurt anybody. And if I lose a couple cases due to excessive wear, I'm just not at all worried about losing a couple 9mm cases. But like I said, sometimes I run 358 projectiles. That way I can just have them sized to one size, and then I can grab them and load 38 Special or 357 Magnum as I wish. However, if I want to shove any of these into the 350 Legend, those do need to be 356. Because that's got a very tight, picky chamber, because we all know how silly the 350 Legend specs really are. Like if they'd have just designed the exact same thing but based around a 357 or 358 projectile, like your 35 Remington, 35 Welland, those kinds of things, 358 rifle bullets. You could be pushing 180, 200, 220 grains. And those would be some thumpers, man. But I realized the Legend was kind of built around that 170 grain bullet, so they could, you know, massage the ballistic charts to make it compare to Cartridge X at this range and compare to Cartridge Y at this distance. And then if you use this bullet, you only have to hold this much compared to this other totally unrelated cartridge with a totally different weight bullet. Don't you love that? Like Hornady just dropped all their info on the 22 ARC. Have you guys seen any of that? Well, they say it's got the energy and the so and on and so forth of a 22-250. So what they do is they show you data for a super heavy bullet on the 22-250, so it's moving slower than it normally would. And then they show you the ARC with its, you know, super incredible stats, but they show a lighter bullet moving faster and flatter. And so, you know, they can just contort the words and whatever how they like. That's a whoopsie. Had a piece of corn cob sit under the primer there. That's a little ugly. Yeah, that's ugly, but it'll still go boom boom. Just don't push too hard so you don't get some kind of negligent primer discharge. That sounds gross. A primer discharge. Anyways, there's the rest of our baggie. We're about halfway here. But yeah, the freaking 22 ARC. You know, if they showed a 55 grain bullet for the 22 ARC, and then if they showed a 22 grain bullet in the 22-250, sorry, so if they showed a 55 grain bullet in both cartridges, is what I'm trying to say, obviously the 22-250 would outperform it. But because they cherry pick, I'm going to show you this bullet weight for this cartridge against something totally different and not optimized in a different cartridge. If we compare the two, this brand new one looks freaking incredible. So I'll give it to Hornady for their marketing practices. They definitely lead the industry in marketing. I'll give them that. They're very good at that. But when you compare apples to fire trucks, sure, they're both red. Sometimes, some apples are red, but apples and fire trucks are in no way related. But they're able to do those mental gymnastics. And, you know, don't get me wrong, it's a pretty cool looking cartridge. If you want to shoot, I think they have the 88 grain ELDs, or I'm sure you can load, you know, 90 grain Match Kings or 95 grain Match Kings. They're just not going to show you the Sierra stuff. But eventually we'll have other factory loadings and stuff like that. I'm sure it'll be a great cartridge. You know, if you're PRSing or varmint hunting, if you've got an 88 grain ELD or, you know, whatever, I'm sure those are going to fly just swell out of your AR-15 or bolt gun. But if you're running a bolt gun, why not just get longer action cartridges that can obviously perform better, because you can shove more powder into that case. Right? Right. It's kind of like I was watching, I forget who. I should be able to mention their name, but I forget. They made a great point about how when the 308 Winchester came out, they were comparing that to the 30-06, and then they were comparing those to the 300 Savage. And if you're within a certain distance, you know, using that 150 grain bullet or whatever the cartridges are basically built around, they're all going to perform very similar, but just because of the amount of powder you can shove in one case versus the next, that's where your performance comes. So the 300 Savage, lesser case capacity, you're only able to get those 150 grain bullets, you know, maybe 2,700 feet per second. And then you move up to the 308, you can get a couple more grains of powder in there. 150 grain bullets, now moving 27, 28, maybe 2,900 feet per second. And then you move to your 30-06, you can probably push that to 28, 29, 3,000 feet per second. So for them to say you can shove your super short AR action cartridge with a 22 caliber bullet, and that will compare to a longer projectile, a longer case that can hold several grains more powder, there's just no comparison to be made. But they're able to do it. They're able to do it. But back about the Eggleston bullets here, I've got several different samples here to load up and test and try. So thanks to them for sending all these out. Make sure to go and check out their website. I'm going to be doing some 300 Blackout and 308 with some of their stuff as well. If you've not heard of The Load, it's an old milsurp, basically 30 cal and up. Nice light practice load you can do with cast projectiles. So we're going to be doing that in the 308. Oh hey, look. Out of primers. Almost missed that one. Okay, I'm going to rotate though and still set this bullet onto that case so I know it's got powder. And we'll top her off here. Stand by. Alright, so let's make sure this one actually has one before it starts spilling powder out the bottom. Do we have a primer? No, we don't. Ha! Okay, we double dummied. And while we're at it, I guess we should make sure that this one over here that's been seated has a primer. Okay, good. He just needs crimped. So basically we are restarting here. So we got a full new magazine of primers. He just got expanded, so we'll back up one. Oh shit, he still needs a primer. Okay. there we are. Sorry, confusion. This one's got powder, it's been seeded, and it's got a primer. Everything else is restarting. You're probably thinking, but dummy, you just started with 100 bullets. Why are you out? Well, because we've got other projects, silly. We just ran a bunch of these Summit City bullets here we'll be testing, so I'm going to do a big old comparison kind of jamboree. It should be pretty sick. Alright, there we go. We are primed up with the Fiocchis, and we are crimped over there. Alright. Now we can get back into a rhythm. There it is. So, yeah, once you get on autopilot, be careful. Because I would have missed that one, I would have seeded a bullet, wouldn't have had a primer, and I'd have been like, duh, where'd the primer go? You know, when I'm out on my range trip shooting, and then I'd dump out the whole ammo can just looking for a stupid primer, only to realize that it never got loaded with one. So then I would be like, well, shoot, where's the squib load? And long story short, guys, pay attention. Don't be like old dum-dum here. Alright, well that was a pretty good side rail, little sidecar distraction, optional quest there to refill the primers. But yeah, case capacity and the amount of powder you can shove into a case, that's what's going to determine your velocity, which determines your trajectory, which is based off your bullet weights. So if you compare different bullet weights in different cases with different amounts of powder, you're just back to apples and fire trucks. So, good job Hornady for marketing. It looks like a pretty sweet cartridge. But sometimes it's not all that it's cracked up to be. And, you know, that's kind of... The Buckhammer isn't exactly claiming to be a miracle or anything super crazy. But it does say, we give this energy with this bullet at this, you know, distance. But it's essentially a 35 Remington in a straight wall cartridge. That's the thing. That's the thing that they're going for, is the straight wall. Because of those specific states that require straight wall cartridges for hunting. So, although they do list off their stats and, you know, it's incredible, hit a lever action. No, it's essentially identical to your 35 Remington. It just has a straight wall. I'll be honest, I haven't looked at a whole lot of that load data, but you know, you can always hand load things hotter than factory offerings. That can always be done. So I'm kind of more just talking about off the box factory load data from the shelf, you know. They're going to say our 200 grain bullet does this. Well, so does that 87-year-old cartridge that has been doing it for 87 years. But that 87-year-old cartridge wasn't around when they had stupid laws like, you know, you can't have a bottleneck case because then you'll be tempted to shoot too far, and then you're such an idiot you'll probably just shoot another hunter. Unless I'm way off and that's not their train of thought. That's what I've always heard, though, is they just think we're so stupid we're just going to be shooting each other through cornfields. I don't know, man. I'll be honest again, I've not done a lot of hunting. I've shot at a 10-point buck with a crossbow that I'd only shot once in my life and totally missed. Didn't find the arrow, but he obviously ran away. But other than that, I don't have a lot of experience hunting. It's something I want to definitely get into more. I would love to go duck hunting or goose or, you know, whatever. All them waterfowls. How about that? We'll go waterfowling. It'd be cool to get a turkey. Obviously those aren't on the water, but it'd be a totally different game. That would be kind of fun as well. Maybe someday. Maybe someday. But anyways, we're getting right here at the end. And once again, I'll just say A+ for loading here on the Egglestons. We'll have to give them a real test at the range. I'm going to have to devise a way to actually shoot a pistol for groups, you know, kind of somewhat supported rather than just offhand with the red dot or iron sights. Because we know how bad of a shot I am, we'll definitely not be testing groups. We'll be testing how good of a shot dummy is on any given day. So yeah, that's where we're at with this. Once I get all these loaded up, we'll have a big old jamboree, like I said. Shoot a couple groups with each one. We'll shoot some accuracy. We'll get some chronograph data. And so between the manufacturers, I'm using the same powder charge for the same grain weights of bullets. So they should all be running roughly the same velocities, just depending on their shape and seating depth combinations, that kind of thing. But it should be a pretty good time. Should be a good time. I'll probably use the Glock 17, like I said, for the longer barrel velocity to check. And then I've got a Hellcat, which is a little bit shorter. So that'll be able to give us some different velocity readings for different configurations. Should be a good time. Anyways, I've rambled on long enough. This is our last one right here. Last one there. Okay. So thanks for hanging out, guys. And we will see you in the next video. Have a good one.